Welcome to the NLP Talks podcast, bringing you inspirational stories along with a good dose of potentially life-changing NLP strategies. I'm Laura Evans, multi-award-winning NLP trainer, and I'm on a mission to help you unleash your potential in business and life. I'm so glad you're here. Pull up a chair, listen in, and let's get started on revealing more about this transformational NLP toolkit. Hey, how you doing? I hope you're well. Thank you for tuning in for another episode of the NLP Talks podcast. And I'm delighted to reveal today's guest is Laura Hayter. Laura is a nutrition and fitness coach with a bit of a twist, because manifestation is one of the 3 pillars she uses to help career-driven women achieve massive goals in all areas of their life. The theme is about manifestation and mindset. We bust a number of the big myths, talk about, spoiler alert, unconscious mind, beliefs, emotions, identity, and how taking responsibility for our actions and thoughts and emotions is key to the manifestation of anything in our life. You'll hear synergies with how we set goals in NLP. And I particularly enjoyed our discussion about the manifestation and mindset and what exactly that was. With a good dose of spirituality, references to Joe Dispenza and Michael Singer, Laura shares some of her top tips to help you start to manifest more in your life. So let's cut across to where Laura starts right up front by busting one of the biggest myths about manifestation.
I think it's that you just close your eyes and this thing just appears, and that's as easy as it is.
Yeah, I remember someone telling me years and years ago that, if you want to do the whole law of attraction, manifesting, secret, whatever you want to call it, get a vision board, get like a magazine, cut out the thing you want out of the magazine, stick it on your vision board, and just like tell the universe that's what you want.
Yeah.
And I'm like, really? Is that what you do? And it sounds to me like that's actually one of the myths.
Yeah, and I think if we were to look at things in a really reductionist and simplistic view, that would be it essentially. But we're all walking around with baggage, a lot of limiting beliefs, a lot of unhelpful thoughts that we have about ourselves and about the world around us that actually limits what we're able to go and achieve. So if we were probably starting from a blank slate with no limiting beliefs, no preconceptions, we probably could manifest a lot easier. But because we've got all this baggage, it creates blockages that we actually need to work through with our unconscious mind in order to clear those so that we can create the state and the environment to actually manifest those things. So I wish it was as simple as that, and it probably could be if we were just blank slates, but we're not.
Tell me, the law of attraction, the secret, they're like 2 things that get huge amounts of publicity. Are they the same thing as manifestation? Are they different? Like, what's your view?
From my understanding, how I see it, they're all essentially the same thing told in slightly different ways. Like the law of attraction talks about you need to energetically match the thing that you want. And like, what does energetically match the thing that you want even mean, right? It can be quite a woo-woo phrase, but to me, what that means is we need to get our body and our mind into the place of being able to receive what it is that we actually want. Like, I'm a big fan of doing a lot of like somatic work as well, like intuitively being in your body, working through the traumas and stuff that you have. I don't know if you've ever actually seen any of the videos of like the vibrational frequencies, like when they're the same, they're attracted to each other.
No.
There's some really cool videos. I can't remember what the instrument's called now. You ding one of them and it's like a little ball thing that swings, and then they match the frequencies, so they're in alignment. But then when you've got frequencies that are off, they're not swinging in unison and they're not attracting one another. So yeah, so when you're on the same frequency as something in an energetic state, you attract it. So I think from a super spiritual perspective, they're talking about being in that energetic state where you're a really high frequency, where your energy is really high and you're matching the thing that you want. But I think from a perspective of maybe someone you and I, and don't get me wrong, I'm a very spiritual woo-woo person as well, but it's not as easy and not as simple as just thinking, I'm really high vibe, I'm amazing, I'm going to get these things. We've got to work through what's holding us back, because everything is ultimately energy and frequency, but I'm going to try not to go too much down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, I do appreciate that. We could probably end up going right the way down into all of that, because I'm really interested, right? Because I kind of know from my own background and from other people that the whole manifesting things is quite woo-woo to a lot of people. They're like, what is this alternative approach? Like if we all like hippie kind of yogi spiritual people and all that, but that's, I think, a misconception, because what I love is you're working with really driven career-based women. These are not the people that you would stereotypically or stereotype to be into kind of energy. So how do you find using the third pillar of your program of manifestation with these type of really driven women? I'm really interested.
Yeah, so inside our program, it's all about holding you to a higher standard than what you're holding yourself to at the moment, right? Because a lot of the women, it's a big reason why many of us get coached ourselves, because we know we're capable of more, but we need that accountability, we need that mirror being held up to us. And I think that's a huge part of what our coaching program actually is. It's creating that self-awareness where you get that opportunity to self-reflect, challenge your current beliefs, challenge your views on the world, and then also to be stretched further as a person and to be held to an even higher standard, to get out of your comfort zone, to really become intuitive with who you are and looking at why do you want the things that you're chasing in life? Because often we're chasing superficial goals that we don't want for ourselves, but society has said you should want to have whatever it is, the nice car, the shiny handbag, the marriage. So a lot of what we do is actually just breaking all of that down and getting clear on who are you as a person, first of all, and what life do you actually want for yourself outside of all of those expectations that everyone else puts on us, and where are you at now in relation to that vision? How can we take actions every single day to get you there? So manifestation is not closing your eyes, thinking you want that dream house, the husband, the car, and doing absolutely nothing. You've got to take action to embody the identity of that person you're coming. And I'm pretty sure you said this quite often, probably on our training, or like, you've got to do different things to get different results. And this is what I say to my clients all the time. You can't wake up, get out of bed at 8 a.m. in the morning, leave the house at 8:30 in a rush, get into the office, and then start your day behind, tired, lethargic, and then expect and have the same thoughts, experience the same feelings, the same emotions, have the same conversations, the same people, and expect to get a different outcome. So it's a whole lifestyle overhaul. We've got to really look at how you're living now. What areas do we need to change and refine? That doesn't mean you need to go and cut all your friends and family off, but but it just means elevating you in other areas. And that's really how we manifest things. We take action towards the goal that we desire.
It sounds to me that, again, this is an outsider kind of looking in on that, because I just think you've just encapsulated that perfectly. The word responsibility pops up into my head, because I think when it comes to manifesting what we want in our life, now, whether we call it manifesting, whether we call it attracting what we want, whatever you want to call it, it requires us to take responsibility for ourselves, our actions, our thoughts, our emotions. But I think that's probably one of the biggest misconceptions, isn't it? Because with manifesting, it feels like some people hand over responsibility for this thing coming into their life to some higher power, and energy in the universe. Like, different people have different views on what exists, but it's almost like people just have this expectation that something or someone else is going to make that happen for them, and they've just got to sit there and twiddle their thumbs and just wait for it to land in their lap. But actually what you're saying is, no, you have to do the mindset work. You have to take the responsibility of actually making that happen. And I guess I know you talk in your programs about using this idea of elevate, and obviously it's named your coaching program, and using this energy, using this particular kind of modality way of thinking to elevate people's responses. And I can, listening to you, I'm like, oh, I get it. Yeah. It's like, actually, you need to know what you want. You've got to do the work to get there, and actually use the energy and vibration and all of this other stuff to basically nudge you along the way and help you, rather than it being the force that drags you. Am I along the right lines?
Yeah, 100% spot on.
Yeah. See, this is what I needed. I needed you to come and explain this all to me, because I'm like, oh, okay, I'm getting it now. I'm absolutely starting to get it. Now, I've got a quote here, right, that I found on the internet that I want to get your take on. Right now, this is what it said. It said, basically, it's the law. What you assume to be yours is yours. It really is that easy. So I'm guessing what we're saying is actually that's not actually completely accurate.
Yeah, I think the first part's probably true, but the second part about it being easy, not so, because like, I said a few moments ago, we've got to clear the blockages, we've got to clear the limiting beliefs, we've got to get rid of a lot of stuff that we're carrying that's not helpful. And then it becomes easier.
Yeah.
It's definitely not easy straight off the bat.
So what have you manifested then? Give us an idea of what's possible with manifestation.
So I think it's really interesting, because I had no idea that I was actually manifesting my coaching business when I was. And I think this is the fun thing about it as well, and something that I try to follow and pass on to my clients is always follow that feel good feeling and learning to trust your intuition. And again, that's a whole skill that you need to develop. But when you can really get into like the flow of life and your intuition, and you just you're just curious. I always have an attitude of curiosity with everything. So follow that feeling. And I had a mental breakdown in 2019 off the back of an abusive relationship. And like my whole life crumbled. I lost everything. I relocated from England to Wales. I was having like 10, 20 pseudo seizures a day, in and out of the hospital. Like, it was really, really severe. And although it was the worst time of my life, it absolutely was the best thing that had ever happened to me. And I'm very grateful for that experience, and I wouldn't change it. Because what it allowed me to do was actually just have a fresh start with life and start the slate clean. So I got into like a lot of therapy. I started going to like women's connection circles, really got onto like this self-development journey. And as I was working through some sessions with my therapist, I was like, I really want to help women. I want to do this and I want to do that. And I wasn't sure exactly what it was going to look like, but I've still got the notepad now in the cupboard next to me, actually, of when I was writing down what my values were, what my skills were, what was important to me, what would I need, like qualification wise, in order to be able to work with these types of women and do this kind of thing. And then it just continued to evolve. And then I got myself a fitness coach. I was like, actually, I can see how this would be really amazing for me to do. So then I started doing fitness coaching, and I just continued to follow that feeling and trust my gut instincts with the evolution of where that was going. And then it's eventually transpired into the business that I have today, doing the work that I have today with the women. And a lot of it comes back down to that intuition and trusting yourself, being curious, allowing yourself to change your mind about things. Just because you thought something yesterday, wanted something yesterday, doesn't mean you have to still believe that, do that, want that today. We can change our mind moment to moment. That's been a really liberating thing for me on this journey. So like my coaching business was definitely one of those things that just beautifully manifested without any real force. But then there's been, other things, and this is definitely a work in progress for myself as well, learning to trust that intuition and doing the somatic work and healing from past traumas. But last year I set myself a financial target that I wanted to achieve in September, and a few other little things that went along with it. And like whole ritual, this whole routine that I was doing for like a good month or two in the lead up to it. And yeah, it all come to fruition. I hit that financial targets. I hit everything that I wanted to on that list. So then I got really excited and I was like, oh my God, we can do this again and again and again. The second time I went to do it, there was so much more resistance because I put so much more pressure on myself as well. And I think that pressure then created like blockages with my beliefs and started to doubt myself, whether I could, whether I couldn't. So the second time I tried to manifest the same thing again, it didn't quite happen. So it was a really interesting learning experience for myself. And I think the key thing is to let go of a lot of resistance with things and a lot of pressure, which is why I always talk about that flow and that intuition and being able to go with it.
And I think that's really honest, and I think there's a lot of, like I say, this really helps people, I think, understand. So it helps me understand that actually life's not always perfect just because you get good at manifesting. Like you've done it once, but actually the second time, and then I guess it's like you say, it's the curiosity. I mean, an NLP, attitude of curiosity. Yeah. I mean, it's very, very similar, isn't it? When you're kind of like, actually, this isn't working. Actually, why is it not working? What's getting in the way? And then realizing that perhaps the pressure, the beliefs and so forth are there and they may be tripping you up. If someone was listening to this and they're like, okay, Laura, as in you, Laura, not me, Laura. All right, so you're saying you manifested your coaching business, but what exactly did you do? Like, what exactly? Because you mentioned that you did, you wrote down your values, you wrote down the skills you had. Like, is that how someone should start with trying to manifest something?
If you're unclear with what it is, 100% is getting clear on that vision, right? You've got to know the direction that you're going in. You haven't got to know the exact pinpoint where you're going to end up, because along that journey you can learn new information, change your mind, come across another opportunity that wasn't available to you before you had started that journey in the beginning. But you've got to have an idea of exactly where it is you're going. So although the idea of the business has changed, my values as a business is still exactly the same. So the values hasn't changed. I'm still helping women. It's in a slightly different capacity than what I thought it was and what it was originally, but the vision is still the same. So yeah, you got to have that clarity.
And I can see huge synergy, and I'd be interested in your take on this when we talk about the way we set goals in NLP, because when we set goals in NLP, they are essentially outcome-based goals. So we start to look at what do you want and how are you going to get them, and it is very much similar to setting intentions. It's like this is where we're going. And we write the goals in NLP as if we already have them. We don't write them about I'm going to have, and these are the steps on how we can get there. And for anybody listening to the podcast episode, if you're like, Laura, goal setting NLP way, there's a whole podcast episode on that. So go find that. But it's about the outcome and as if you already have it. So there's huge synergy, isn't there, between that and the way that, you're talking about manifestation, which is, where are you now? Where do you want to get to? And there's all sorts of ways to get there, but it's the outcome which we set at an unconscious level. So I see those as actually almost not being exactly the same, but very similar. Would you agree?
Yeah, I'm 100%. That's why on the course I was like, this is just spirituality to me. Like, I'm a very spiritual person. I don't impose that on my clients. That's just me on a very personal level. I'm into that. But when I was on the course, I was like, this is just spirituality dressed up in a different sense, using slightly different words, meaning the same thing. So I thought it was absolutely fascinating, and it got me even more excited because I thought, oh, there's actual research and stuff. And I know there is, but it's becoming more mainstream, to accept these sorts of things. So yeah, huge synergies.
So I hear people talk about this idea of a manifestation mindset, and I'm definitely hearing from you that there is absolutely this need to know what you want, to set your focus, to be clear on the direction of travel, but the realistic acknowledgement that actually there's inner work we have to do to be able to realize that outcome, to realize that intention. I mean, aware of that. And I'm just wondering, like, the phrase manifestation, I can't even say it, sorry, manifestation, get the words out, Laura, mindset. Like, if you were to encapsulate what a manifestation mindset is, what is that mindset someone needs?
Yeah, good question. I would say self-awareness, definitely. curiosity and growth mindset, and taking radical ownership over yourself, and also like a problem solving attitude, I would say, because you're the only person that's in control of your life, and people are going to trigger you. I know this is slightly off topic, but people are going to trigger you day in, day out. And when someone triggers you, often they're holding a mirror up to you with something that you've not quite healed in yourself, and it's up to you to take responsibility for how you then choose to react in those types of situations. So yeah, I would say those things are the key things, really.
So before I go too far into this, because obviously this is kind of really quite interesting, the mindset side of manifesting things, I don't want to not talk about the energy side of manifesting things, which is, I guess, going to be a little bit more out there. So you touched on it earlier about this in simple terms for me and for listeners of this podcast that are maybe new to this idea of energy and maybe even the universe and all of those things. Before we disappear into the NLP mindset stuff, which is my comfort zone, tell me a little bit more about the energy, spiritual, if you like, side of manifesting. What are your views on that versus the tangible mindset stuff?
Yeah, so it's definitely something that I'm still learning a lot about. I'm not anywhere like the levels of Dr. Joe Dispenza. I'm actually reading his book at the moment, Becoming Superhuman. Fascinating. A short version, I feel might be a little bit challenging. I'll do my very best here. Dr. Joe Dispenza, funnily enough, talks about having coherence with your heart and your brain waves, and coherence in your body. And what that does is it actually puts you in your rest and digest nervous system state, which is where we're relaxed, where we're receptive, we're soothed. We're not in fight and flight, we're not in panic. When we're in fight and flight, all of our responses get shut down, the digestion gets shut down. We're not thinking logically, we've got fear running us and controlling us. So I think from an energetic perspective, it's about having an open and calm and soothed nervous system where you have the capacity to take on those things that you want. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. I love Joe Dispenza. I think he's absolutely amazing. A number of our students absolutely love him. I'll be honest, I've tried reading his book several times and I find them quite complicated. But I love listening to him talk. Like, I think he kind of gets into that. So the coherence, the whole heart brain thing and coherence, really popular, lots of people talking about that. The article I was reading was talking about the fact that your heart gives off a frequency and like an energy field, and that's something that I know Joe Dispenza talks quite a bit about, doesn't he, in terms of the energy force that you create around you and other people giving off energy forces and all of that. Like, is this all part of good manifestation as well?
Yeah, I think as a part of that journey, in order to get to that point where you do have like brain heart coherence, where you are open, you are receptive, again, and even Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this in his book, you've got to do the really hard work of clearing your mind, clearing your limiting beliefs, clearing your traumas, and not holding on to this identity that you have of yourself and really becoming free of it. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Michael Singer. He wrote The Untethered Soul, Living Untethered. Oh my gosh, two of the most profound books I've ever read. And again, this is a really beautiful example in a slightly different way. He's a real big spiritual leader. He went on this journey of going into deep meditation, of letting go of any resistance, letting go of his identity and really living in the flow of life. And as he'd done that and he got into really deep meditative state, he was put in situations where good things would just continually happen to him. So at first he would be, like an example in his book is, he used to build houses. He built his own house on his land, gorgeous house, very good at woodwork. A police officer stopped by. He was really scared and alarmed. Why is the police officer here? He went into fear thinking it was something negative. Actually, the police officer loved his house and wanted him to build a house. And that was the start of his Built with Love business, where they started to make hand-built houses. And then he just continued to go with the flow of where life was taking him, with what was feeling good, the opportunities that are putting into him, going into deep meditation, going into that brain-heart coherence, letting go of resistance. And then the more and more these opportunities came to him, and he ended up being like a multi-millionaire, billionaire with a huge tech company and become very, very wealthy. But it all started from letting go the identity and the attachment that he had of who he thought he was, and going into deep meditation, releasing blockages, resistance, limiting beliefs. Fascinating stuff.
I need to read that book. The Untethered Soul.
Yeah, honestly, I was addicted to it. I couldn't put it down.
Right, I'm going to go and get it. Thank you for that tip. I'll add that to my list. So you mentioned their beliefs. So if we go kind of back to kind of what we were talking about just a few minutes ago, this manifestation mindset and the role of beliefs. Now, you and I both know from an NLP point of view, we spend a lot of time helping clients with limiting beliefs that are holding them back, getting in their way. And we know empowering beliefs are hugely helpful and spur us on. So talk to me a bit about the role of beliefs in this manifestation and this manifestation mindset.
Yeah, really, really important, because if you have a belief that you can't do something, so let's say, I could never run 5K, or I'm never going to be the sort of person that goes to the gym. And they're things that I hear often. And it's like, well, when did you come to that outcome? Where did you learn that from? Why is it that you believe that about yourself? Is that actually true? And then we start to get into the nitty gritty of it. And it's like, oh, well, no, it's just something that I assumed about myself once, and you're right. I don't know why that is true. Why wouldn't it be? And then we really start to raise awareness over the language that we're using. And it was really lovely. We do a Monday manifestation call every week. We deliver training, reflection, accountability, and a lot of mindset work on these calls. The week before, we spoke about the power of the word yet. And I know that's something that we also spoke about in our NLP training. And on the call, one of the girls, she was like, I haven't been able to do that yet. And I was like, is that a new thing? She was like, yes, I took on board last week's call.
I love it.
So yeah, it's a lot of awareness around the language that we're using and how it can actually keep us stuck in the state that we're in at the moment. And it goes back to having the same beliefs, the same thoughts, the same habits, and expecting to get a different outcome. It's not going to happen.
Now, we know in NLP we spend a lot of time releasing negative emotions and helping people let go of that stuff from the past. And it sounds like that also is really important alongside beliefs to you being in this place of being able to manifest things and having this manifestation mindset. What's your thoughts on that?
I know from like my own experience, if I was still living in all of the pain that I was in 5 years ago, there's no way I'd have the emotional resilience to have been able to build a successful business, to be able to hold space and coach other women, to get them to think about their mindset, what it is that they want and how they can reach their goals. And it's, again, that awareness over your own limitations as well, because we can often project things from our own experience onto other people. So it's having that awareness of not wanting to project your own baggage and stuff onto your clients and other people that you're interacting with. And I completely forgot what you've asked me, so my mind has gone blank.
All right. That's fine. No, I asked you about the role of emotions in manifestation and the manifestation mindset.
Emotions. Yeah. So then if we're always in a frenzied state, right, we're always stressed, we're always overwhelmed, it goes back to we're in fight and flight. We're not in rest and digest. Our heart is beating, we've got cortisol running the show, we're panicky, our mind is all over the place, we're probably thinking really irrational thoughts. So you want to manifest from, I mean, you can manifest from that place, but what you're going to manifest is more of what you're feeling, thinking and wanting. So, you can manifest in any state, any emotional state that you're in. And this is often why you'll see people that have got depression with physical ailments that's wrong with them as well. And I know that was the case for me. I was having pseudo seizures. They're not epileptic seizures, they're manifested through stress and overwhelm and an overactive nervous system. So this is real things that do manifest, and you can manifest good and you can manifest bad. So it's why you want to be so in control of what your thoughts are and so mindful of what they are.
I'm listening to you talk, I'm going, this is just NLP by another name. So I can totally get what you were saying when you came on the NLP course. This is just manifestation by another name. It's like, actually, we're all talking about the same thing, but just in a slightly different way. I think you're spot on. Obviously, as you know, one of the NLP phrases I use a lot in our training is what you focus on is what you get. And it sounds like actually this also has massive synergy to the world of manifestation, because you're going to track, like your example just then of if your emotions are not in a good place and you're constantly feeling a certain emotion, then that's going to get in the way, right, of you manifesting the thing that you want.
Yeah 100. Like, how many times have you probably like woke up late, snoozed through your alarm, stubbed your toe, burnt your toast, and then you've decided, well, today's going to be the worst day ever? Like, we've all done it, we've all been there. And you get into the office, and I know, like, this is how I used to feel when I used to work in an office, and then guess what, it would be the worst day ever. Everything bad that could happen did happen. Whereas if you can just catch yourself and switch from that, from attitude to an attitude of gratitude and like reframe the thoughts that you're having and where your thinking's at, you can just completely change the course of your day.
So here's another quote, right, which I found, and I think you might like this one a little better than some of the others I found. So again, I want your honest opinion on it, like agree, disagree, I don't mind, right? So it said, the basis of manifestation is knowing exactly what you want and feeling the feelings as if you already have it. You need to feel and believe that which you desire to attain. Would you reckon?
I love that. And it's so true. Right. And this is exactly what we covered in our call last night with the community, was you have to, so we can create neural pathways. I was talking a lot about like neuroplasticity in our brain. And I like to use like the example of like your neurons. Right, if you are someone that is really anxious, you're used to catastrophizing and thinking of the worst case, all you've done is you've created a motorway for your neurons in your brain to like go for that worst case scenario. So what we can do is we can retrain. It's going to take time, it's going to take effort. It's not something you do once and then you're like, I've done it, fixed forever. It's going to take perseverance with practicing all of these different tools and skills, right? But we can create new neural pathways. And a little bit like you're walking through a forest and there's not really a path, so you go and you walk it once and you can vaguely see something, and then a few more people walk through it, and the next time you're there you're like, oh yeah, that looks like a path now. And then the more people that walk down it, the more trodden it gets and the more obvious that it's a path. It's exactly that with these sorts of things. So if you're someone that's used to having negative thoughts a lot of the time, we just got to retrain your brain to go for more positive ones and change that neuroplasticity that's going on in there. So yeah, what we think about is what we get. We can absolutely change that, and you want to feel it in your body. You want to actually feel the sensations, the emotions of what it's like when you have that thing, and believe it as if you've got it now. A little bit like when we write the goals in NLP, we're writing it as if we have it now, and it's exactly the same thing. And we're doing a visualization challenge inside the community at the moment, which is all on this as well, which is really exciting. But yeah, absolutely spot on with that quote. I love it.
So my next question, we get a lot of coaches that listen to this podcast, and a lot of coaches from our community and outside of our community, and I'm just wondering if a coach was listening to this episode, curious about manifestation and thinking, okay, what should I be mindful of as a coach when I'm working with other people? So manifestation or not, when we're coaching other people, there is a relationship there. That person is paying us for a service. But I'm just interested with your manifestation lens on, what would kind of be tips for me or any other coach listening to this episode about, okay, so if I want to help be a better coach with a manifestation hat on, what might that sound, feel, or look like?
Yeah, for me, I work very intuitively with my clients. I'm quite an intuitive person in general. So I think being able to work intuitively and listen to like the subtleties, and like, we even do this in the NLP course about their building rapport and the sensory acuity and all of those sorts of things. So just becoming attuned to them and looking for the subtleties and having an open mind, no judgment, no shame, no criticism. It's really important that you create a space where they feel safe, that they can actually express things, because often people are going to be really vulnerable, sharing their deepest, darkest secrets with you that they probably haven't told their partners, their friends, their family members, or anything like that. So like, be humbled. I'm extremely humbled working with my clients because they're really opening up and telling you things that's important to them. And then to also not project any of your own stuff onto them, because it can be really easy to think that, oh, that person's never going to achieve it. Well, if you think they're never going to, what sort of work do you think you're going to do with them? The work that you're doing, the energy that you're giving off is going to be very limiting from them, and they're going to pick up on that on an unconscious level as well. So to be really mindful of your own limitations and your own beliefs and where they might trip you up a little bit in that relationship.
And do your own work, basically. Isn't it?
Yeah.
There are too many.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. There are too many coaches out there, in my opinion, and not in our community, but outside of our community, where people are doing coaching in whatever field, whether that be fitness like yourself, or wealth, or relationships, or whatever, and they haven't yet resolved their own stuff. And I say on the courses that we run, like, you have to start with you first. And I think you've just so eloquently described that. I'm really curious. Okay, so we've heard some of your success with manifesting, but I know that you work with a bunch of amazing women as your client group. Now, without obviously breaching anyone's confidentiality, I would never want you to do that. I'm genuinely fascinated to hear about some of the success stories, about what you've been able to help some of these women achieve when you've got a health and fitness business underpinned by this amazing tool of manifestation. So come on, I want to hear all.
Oh, it gets me so excited, because I honestly just think it's absolutely incredible that a lot of women will come to me, like, one of my clients, Steph, she would be fine for me to share this, she's all over my social media. Laura, I want to be freelance at 40, she's going through menopause, struggling to lose weight, nothing was ever working for her. The weight came off, she lost about a stone in like 10 weeks. And then we started putting goals in place for her to actually start this freelance business. Within 6 months, the business was started. She got her first client, the confidence had grown. Yeah, and it happens really quick. People think it's going to be this long, drawn out process, but when you're doing all of this together and you're working towards your health goals and you're building that confidence, that resilience, and you've got a community, it's not only me, but you've got a community of other women who are also achieving the same or very similar things to you, that are of a very similar mindset, that support you and tell you, actually, this is possible. Whereas maybe your friends and your family are putting their own beliefs on you, coming from a place of love, but going, oh, do you think that's safe? Is that a good idea? You've got a really stable career, good salary. There's none of that here. Supporting what you want for yourself. So being a part of that community that has that as a value, so incredibly vital. Other clients, one of my clients, Laura, she's been with me for over a year now, and she'd gone through lots of different hobbies. She's an air hostess. She loves her job. She doesn't want to not be an air hostess. She's got so many passions and hobbies, and she felt like, oh, I'm someone that just can't commit to anything because I change my mind all the time. I was like, that is not true. You're following what feels good, right? And you're curious about things, and you're following your intuition, and you're changing when it doesn't feel right. And then she was like, do you know what? I love wedding photography. I used to do that. That's what I studied. And she started a wedding photography business now. She's done her first couple of weddings. She's shadowing other photographers. So we've got amazing stuff like that's happening. It would be so easy to stay stuck in a little bucket of like, oh, I'm just someone that can't commit. Actually, we just haven't found the right thing. One of my other clients, she just secured a £60 million contract, which was the biggest contract of her career and her business, which is absolutely insane. And she said, yeah, it was all down to like the confidence, the tools, and everything that we'd been doing in the program that got her to that position. So now we've got the contract, we're working on sustaining the resilience to fulfill it.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. But yeah, loads of incredible things like that happen all the time.
I could talk to you all day. I'm just like, you're fascinating. Your knowledge, your passion. I love you, as you know, and I just think, oh my God, you've got so much to offer everyone, and your wisdom is just immense. So Thank you so much for being so generous with your knowledge and your wisdom on this episode. I just think it's absolutely gold that you've shared with us. But if someone was listening to this podcast episode and they were like, listen, I love this idea of manifestation, give me a couple of tips to get me going. What would your kind of maybe 2 or 3 top tips be for that person that's listening to going, right, I need more manifestation in my life. Just give me some ideas to get me going. What would your kind of top tips be?
Yeah. So I would say visualization, some form of like meditation, being able to clear your mind, get yourself into a really calm state, but also having an idea of what it is that you're working towards, what it is that you want every day. Noticing that really critical self-talk and reframing. And I would also say, I'm going to say something that's a little bit different. I'm going to say dancing, because like it's so much fun. Like it releases so many endorphins, so many hormones. It feels good. And like we're really rigid as adults. We don't let ourselves have fun. We don't move, and we store like trauma and energy and all sorts of different things in our body. So like dance, let it free, chant, whatever feels like it needs to come up, let it come up. But yeah, I would probably say they're my 3.
I love it. Oh, they're brilliant. Absolutely love them. I love them. So very quickly coming towards the end of the episode, if someone has listened to this podcast episode and they're like, I need Laura Hayter in my life, I want to find out more about your coaching program, I want to find more about your health and fitness, I want to find out more about anything you've talked about today, what is the best way for people to get in contact with you?
So I mainly use Instagram and LinkedIn. So on Instagram, I'm at Laura Hayter 3. LinkedIn, you can find me on Laura Hayter. And on both those platforms, I've got my website. So a link to my website where you can see more about us, our pillars, client results, subscribe to my emails there, and other bits of like free resources, my own podcast channel and stuff as well. Again, with lots of free resources to help you get started. They'll be the best places. And my Instagram inbox, LinkedIn inbox is always open if anyone's got a question or something's inspired them from this episode and they've taken action. I'd love to hear it.
Yay! And for our international listeners all the way around the world, just to clarify, Hayter is spelled Hayter. So for those of you that are listening to this thinking, how exactly do I spell your surname, Laura? So it's Hayter. Cool, amazing. So finally then, drum roll, we have our traditional quick fire round. So as always, our guests have absolutely no idea what I'm about to ask them. So I have told Laura, try and be nice to her, but I'm looking at the great question bank I have in front of me, and I'm just going to randomly pick some questions at her. So Laura, first question. What is the number one reason most people fail to succeed?
Self-belief.
Name 3 people that you, either past or present, 3 people that you would love to have dinner with.
Oh, Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Yes.
Eckhart Tolle.
Yes.
And Esther Hicks.
I love it. What a great combination. Can you imagine those 3 sat around a table? I just think they would just listen. It would just be absolutely phenomenal. What's your favourite word?
Dylan, my dog.
Yeah, bless him. Bless him. If you could take one thing to a desert island with you, what would you take?
It's okay to change your mind. Oh, one thing. Or
one thing.
Oh, a thing.
You can take
okay,
one
sorry,
thing.
I thought you meant
with
like
you.
a belief. Okay, one thing. My dog, Dylan.
Yeah, you got to.
Is he allowed to come? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And what's the one thing that keeps you inspired?
Deep answer. A bit of a trigger warning. I lost a baby. And if it wasn't for losing her when I went through my mental breakdown, I wouldn't be here today doing what I'm doing. So like she is my inspiration every single day for this. So yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast.
Thanks for
I
having
have
me.
absolutely loved chatting with you. If anybody has listened to the podcast and they want to hear more about Laura's approach to stuff, please reach out to her. I know she'd be more than happy to share all of her stuff with you. So do reach out to her. If you're interested in finding out more about working on your mindset and working on your beliefs and your negative emotions and really getting your mindset in the right place, then of course you know that you can find out more about our NLP training on our website, unleashyourpotential.org.uk. So there will be one more episode in this series, which is a solo episode with me all around boundaries. So if you're interested in learning more about boundaries, then stay tuned for the final episode of this series. But Laura is our final guest. So thank you, Laura, so much. And I wish everybody a great, amazing rest of your day, wherever you are. And I'll catch you on the next episode.